Have you ever thought about having to wait for more than 4 decades for a connection that would unite two towns, separated by two of the most important rivers in the Southwest, facing broken political promises and unfinished construction projects? In Brazil, this wait has finally come to an end with the inauguration of the Deputy João Peixoto Integration Bridge, one of the most symbolic infrastructure projects in the state of Rio de Janeiro. Located between the towns of São João da Barra and São Francisco de Itabapuana, this megastructure goes far beyond concrete and steel. It is a symbol of perseverance, patience, and regional transformation. With more than 1.3 kilometers stretching over the powerful Paraíba do Sul River, the bridge represents the fulfillment of a collective dream and the end of the isolation that hindered the development of northern Rio de Janeiro state. In this video, we will discover the scale and interesting facts about the integration bridge, understand its strategic importance and its long and troubled construction history, and the impacts it is already causing not only in the connected municipalities, but throughout the interior of the state of Rio de Janeiro. The Deputy João Peixoto Integration Bridge is located in the northern region of Rio de Janeiro, directly connecting the municipalities of São João da Barra and São Francisco de Itabapuana over the Paraíba do Sul River, one of the main rivers in the southwest region, essential for supplying millions of people and for the economic dynamics of the basin. Before the construction of the bridge, those who needed to cross from São João da Barra to São Francisco de Itabapuana had two options, and neither of them was efficient. The first was the use of ferries, a limited, slow, and unstable system. The river crossing could take up to an hour, considering the waiting time, boarding, navigation, and disembarking. And on days of bad weather or when the river was flooded, the service was suspended, isolating entire communities. The second alternative was even more exhausting, traveling 87 kilometers by land from São João da Barra to Campos dos Goitacazes, crossing the bridge over the Paraíba do Sul in Travessão, and only then returning via RJ 224 until reaching São Francisco. This route took about an hour and 40 minutes of travel, consumed more fuel, increased vehicle wear and tear, and had a direct impact on cargo transportation and people's mobility. Today, with the integration bridge, this route has been reduced to just 57 kilometers of continuous and safe travel, cutting about 30 kilometers from the route and reducing the travel time to just over 30 minutes. This reduction represents direct gains in logistics, economy, and mobility. Trucks, ambulances, students, and workers now cross the river with efficiency and predictability, something unthinkable just a few years ago. The bridge is 1,344 meters long and 16.2 meters wide, divided into 2 lanes in each direction, wide shoulders, and side walkways for pedestrians. The structure is supported by 34 spans, resting on pillars with deep foundations, anchored in alluvial soil, a technical requirement that demanded robust and detailed civil engineering solutions. In addition to the bridge, the project also includes the modernization and implementation of sections of highways, RJ 196 and RJ 194, adding more than 36 kilometers of new lanes with drainage, shoulders, and controlled signage. The direct connection with BR 101 and the Port of Açu turns this project into a new logistics hub for the north and northwest regions of Rio de Janeiro state. With a state investment of 291 million reais, the bridge directly benefits more than 1 million people, integrating previously isolated areas and creating a new reality of connectivity for the region. But why did this project take more than 40 years to be completed? The story of the integration bridge Deputy João Peixoto is, above all, the story of a region that fought for decades to break its isolation. The need for this connection arose back in the 1980s, when it was first conceived during the military government of President João Figueiredo. At that time, Some pillars were even erected, but the project was abandoned before it even got past the initial phase. For years, what could be seen on the banks of the Paraíba do Sul River was a monument to an unfulfilled promise. The local population, especially from São João da Barra, São Francisco de Itabapoana, and the surrounding areas, had to deal with extremely limited transportation. The options were limited to crossing by ferry, which was slow, unsafe, and inefficient, or long road journeys that added dozens of kilometers to otherwise short trips. This logistical bottleneck directly affected the flow of rural production, access to health and education, and mobility between communities that, although neighbors, lived as if they were separated by an ocean. Over the following decades, several governments announced resumptions, studies, and bids. But the project was systematically interrupted by political obstacles, contractual disputes, environmental embargoes, and above all, the lack of budgetary priority. In 2014, construction was started again, but in 2016, it was halted once more, this time due to issues related to the company responsible for the project. The turning point only came in 2021 when the government of Claudio Castro decided to take on the commitment to complete the bridge as one of the infrastructure priorities for the state of Rio de Janeiro. With political coordination, technical reassessment, and the release of funds, the construction work was resumed at full speed and finally completed in February 2025. The bridge was named Deputy João Peixoto in honor of one of the main supporters of the project in the State Legislative Assembly. A native of the region with a long political career, João Peixoto dedicated much of his public life to the cause of regional integration. But unfortunately, he passed away in 2020, a victim of COVID-19, before he could see the bridge completed. However, his name became a symbol of persistence and commitment to the development of the northern Fluminense region. Building a bridge over 1.3 kilometers long across the most imposing rivers of the Brazilian Southwest is not such a simple task. The construction of the bridge and the integration involved a series of technical and operational challenges that required meticulous planning, precision engineering, and firm execution, especially after years of interruptions and deterioration of the partially built structure. The work resumed with a structural analysis of the unfinished pillars from past decades. Many needed to be reinforced or demolished because they did not meet current safety standards. Next, it was necessary to resume work with deep foundations. Since the soil on the banks of the Paraíba do Sul is predominantly alluvial, meaning it is unstable, saturated with moisture, and has low surface load-bearing capacity. To overcome this obstacle, the engineers adopted the use of piles driven to depths greater than 25 meters, capable of reaching more rigid layers of the subsoil. Each pillar was cast in place with high-strength pre-stressed concrete, and the spans of the bridge, 34 in total, were filled with longitudinal beams positioned by large cranes. Some of these structures weigh more than 100 tons, and were fitted with millimeter precision by specialized equipment brought to the construction site. During the assembly of the bridge deck, it was necessary to install floating platforms and temporary bridges, since the Paraíba do Sul River is navigable and has a constant flow. All the movement was coordinated with the Navy and environmental agencies to ensure that there was no permanent ecological damage to the aquatic fauna and flora. In parallel with the main structure, the complementary roadworks were carried out. More than 38 kilometers of paving across sections of highways, RJ 196 and RJ 194. Another highlight of the project is the pedestrian walkway, which ensures safety for people crossing on foot. A fundamental resource for residents of riverside communities who for years have depended on ferries or improvised boats to access schools, hospitals, and markets. At the peak of construction, more than 600 direct jobs and about 1,500 indirect jobs were created, with priority given to hiring local labor. In addition, technical training was provided in carpentry, welding, surveying, and road construction, creating a legacy of skills for the region. After 4 decades of waiting, the bridge was finally completed. Although it is not a monumental structure, it can also be compared with other structures. Although the Deputado João Peixoto Integration Bridge is not among the largest in Brazil in terms of length, its regional impact places it on the same level as major national projects in terms of social, logistical, and strategic relevance. Obviously, we cannot compare its scale with other giants, such as the Rio-Niterói Bridge, with its 13.2 kilometers in length, or the bridge over the Madeira River in Rondônia, which is part of the Northern Integration Complex. Compared to these two, the bridge in Rio de Janeiro state seems modest and is indeed much smaller. However, what it represents for northern Rio de Janeiro state is just as transformative as those giant structures were for their respective contexts. A savings of 30 kilometers on the direct route between São João da Barra and São Francisco de Itabapoana, and a reduction of 80 kilometers for those traveling through Campos dos Goitacazes. This amounts to thousands of liters of fuel saved per month, in addition to significantly reducing travel time and the region's logistical costs. This is comparable on a local scale to the impact that the São Francisco River Water Transfer Project had on water supply in the Northeast. The João Peixoto Integration Bridge is already changing the south of Brazil. From an economic perspective, the project reduces logistics costs by up to 40% in the transportation of grains, meat, and industrial supplies between Paraná and Santa Catarina. It is estimated that there will be a direct positive impact on more than 2 million people, with job creation, income, and new business opportunities. It is important to emphasize that this structure is not just a concrete structure, but rather a work built over decades of waiting, political obstacles, and technical challenges. It is proof that Brazil is capable of carrying out mega projects when there is political will, qualified engineering, and commitment to the future. Finally, it is worth highlighting that despite its medium size, the Deputado João Peixoto Bridge has a unique feature. It completes the link that had been missing for more than 40 years on the coast of the state of Rio de Janeiro, complementing the coastal road network of Rio de Janeiro. Thank you for watching this video until the end. What do you think about this project? It really took a long time, didn't it? But it's good that it finally happened. Better late than never. Share your thoughts on this great project in the comments and let us know if you've crossed it. I'll stop here for now. Take care and see you in the next video.